It was an absolutely bittersweet moment downloading that final patch for Windows XP and shutting down the computer afterwards. Definitely. What's up, everybody? Well, here we are. Doomsday for Windows XP. April 8th, 2014, the final day of Windows XP support. The lights have gone out in the Windows XP building. The final patch is out and available for download for all of you folks stuck in the last decade that are still using Windows XP. Anyways, so what we've got for a picture today is the final bar graph showing the operating system market share of the various types of OSs. The most popular OS in the world is Windows 7, with nearly half of the world's computers running it. Also a very popular OS among businesses too, so I imagine, as usual, some amount of Microsoft's popularity and success is being buoyed by business use and the use of Windows in business environments. But look what is still the second most popular operating system in the world. Windows XP. It was 30% earlier, but now it's down to a whopping 27.69% of the market share versus all the other OS, all the other big OSs that are on this pie chart. So the second most popular OS in the world is one that came out in 2001 in the year 2014. How did we arrive at this place? First and foremost, it is a bittersweet moment. I very much have a lot of very happy memories using Windows XP. I've used it for years. It was, not only was it my operating system throughout the latter half of my college years, I used Windows 2000 for the first half of college, then moved over to Windows XP at a time when it was not only it wasn't just my OS. It was a lot of people's OSs. And not only was it a lot of people's OSs, but it was also the go-to OS. Anything that was wrong with your computer, if you weren't running XP, everybody would tell you, oh, just get XP. Just get XP. Yeah, I think there might still be some people lurking out there somewhere who would say get XP, even though it's end of life now. But I just can't believe that not only has it lasted this long, and not only, but I can understand why people are don't want to give it up. I can't believe how long this OS has lasted. Neither can a lot of people out there. But you know what I also can't believe? I can't believe the techs and the fanboys out there that are actually starting fights about the state of Windows XP. Personally, I don't think Windows XP should have had the plug pulled on it. Second most popular OS in the world. Obviously, that's That should be a mandate for Microsoft as to what they need to do. Hey, what do your people want? What are the two most popular Windowses out there by leaps and bounds? Windows 7 and Windows XP. So a combination of the features of those OSs needs to be the baseline for Windows 8. We'll get to Windows 8 very shortly. I very much consider not only the long zombie status life of Windows XP, but I very much consider not only its long lifespan, but also the fact that so many people still don't want to give up Windows XP to be a complete and total failure on Microsoft's part as a business. And it's sad that I'm even arguing with people about this. I've got some systems analysts and IT guys that are like, what are you doing defending XP? Let it die. It should be dragged out behind the back of the place and shot. Software has life cycles, you know. No. You see, this kind of attitude is exactly why stuff isn't built to last anymore. This kind of attitude is exactly why, if you've ever complained about the low quality of certain products out there, including some products that may have a hefty price tag, I don't know, we seem to have a problem with automobile quality these days with all the recalls going on. GM, we up to 6 million vehicles now between all the outstanding recalls, and now Ford has some stuff to recall as well. This seems to be the year for auto recalls all over the place. And we're talking something that would cost thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars. And at this stage in the product life cycle, the people that are getting burned with these recalls, or maybe even getting their cars totaled in accidents because of what's being recalled, this late in a car's life cycle, it's probably been through 2 or 3 owners, and there's probably people with not a lot of money out there driving used cars everywhere who are now running the risk of losing their car, and, by the way, a lot of stability in their life, Because you know that jobs all over the place out there want reliable transportation. Yeah, all of this stuff going on right now. Well, car quality. We seem to have a problem with making quality cars. We seem to have a problem with making quality anything these days, you know? So enough of the crying about how old Windows XP was. I mean, it worked. It was useful to people, and that's why people were slow to give it up. Mark my words, people. We don't have a bunch of Luddites who don't want to give up their old operating system. We have a complete failure as a business on Microsoft's part. Somebody in the Windows division, I hope, is no longer with the Windows division at Microsoft because of this total disaster of marketing that they have here. And this is the thing. Consumers are clearly saying that there is something about Windows XP that they still like and that they can't find a reason to part with XP, whether it's the familiarity or whether it's the OS, the way it runs on older hardware and stuff like that, or it could just be that Microsoft has done an absolutely miserable job of giving them reasons to switch away, even to Windows 7. You know, I was just reading some stuff earlier about Windows 8, and it's outrageous just how horribly Microsoft's marketing this thing. Yes, they screwed up. They made it too touch-friendly and not friendly enough for traditional computers, which will put them on very bad terms for Windows 8 with the business community. Corporate IT is not like consumer IT. Corporate IT doesn't get to play around with new operating systems. Everything costs money. Everything has dollars and cents hanging off of it. And one of those everythings just happens to be retraining your people to learn how to use a new OS or a new GUI or something like that. Yeah, you can say you want computer skills, but what's computer skills going to mean for the most part these days? Being able to use a keyboard and mouse. This touch stuff is still early adopter type stuff, although I am thinking of messing around with it, and it may get to the point where people are using touch skills because they learned their computer skills, so to speak, on a smartphone or something like that, or some other touch platform, but not the traditional keyboards and mice. And I applaud people wherever they get their skills with technology. If they want to get them from someplace besides traditional sources, power to them. It's great to have people who actually like technology or at least want to know how to use it instead of the alternative, which is people who, let's not go there. I put up with enough of that stuff at work. But yeah, so, Windows 8. I'm thinking of getting it eventually. Once Microsoft fixes the whole start button thing and stops giving the finger to people who still use traditional computing equipment, then I'll probably get Windows 8. I've changed my mind on what I want to do for OSs with Tuxedo and Piano. Tuxedo, or should I say my primary system, I want to eventually move to Windows 8 so I can get a touch-sensitive second monitor to fool around with some ideas that I have for touch computing. Ever since I saw the Wii U with its big controller and stuff and the big screen, small screen thing, that has had me very, very curious. I want to do some experimenting with that, but that's another experiment for another day. First, we have to get there, but I'm actually interested in getting Windows 8 at some point. When Microsoft finally makes it into the hybrid OS that it should have been from the beginning, maybe with 8.2 or something like that, then it's really gonna be a compelling purchase. I was doing some reading last night and even a little bit this morning and found out that Windows 8 has some basic antivirus protection built in now. It's kind of baked in. It's like the Windows Defender firewall and stuff. Probably not enough, probably not robust enough to get people to stop using programs like Kaspersky or Symantec or Avast or McAfee or something like that. It's probably not enough to get people to stop using discrete security software, but it's at least it's there. It's not like a totally open operating system thing or something along those lines. But, I mean, how many people, that are just annoyed by antivirus subscriptions? Oh, I don't want to pay for an antivirus subscription. Hey, can I get a free download or something like that? What's this Avast thing you're always talking about? Yeah. So, not only, so when were these people going to be told that? When was I follow this stuff, and I just found out about this stuff yesterday. What else is Microsoft screwing up in terms of properly marketing Windows 8? And this is the thing, too. It can't just be traditional advertising. There's got to be some word of mouth going around. People have to like Windows 8 enough to recommend it to others. And I'm not just talking AstroTurf people who pretend to be grassroots while they're really just, shilling for some corporation somewhere. I'm talking about people actually legitimately liking the OS and telling other people about it. See, that's what's been missing from Microsoft OSs since Windows XP. Windows Vista ticked off a lot of people, and that's where we saw like the downgrade to XP and stuff. Matter of fact, I'm wondering how many of these 27.69% of computers running Windows XP were originally Vista machines, as Vista sits at 2.99%. Yeah, but it's sad though that even Vista has a higher percentage of OS usage than Linux. Come on, Linux. Go Linux. Yeah, but Linux is an enthusiast product. Mac OS X 3.75, so at least the Mac user base is bigger than Vista. But so people were ticked off by Vista, and it was pretty much the Windows Millennium Edition of the mid-2000s. It really left a sour taste in people's mouths. Then Windows 7 came out, and it was basically Vista done right. But people that were annoyed, Windows 7 is really something you had to learn about either at work or from a tech friend or something like that. A lot of those folks go around and say, okay, heck with it, I'm done with Microsoft. They burned me with Vista. I'm not going to use anything else. So they might still have to be told that Windows 7 is actually a very good operating system, at least on the Windows side of things. There's plenty of Linux and Mac to go around too these days, but if you want to hang out in Windows land or play some Windows games or something like that, although it'd be nice if Gabe Newell and the folks at Steam and Valve went forward with these ideas of helping make Linux a more robust gaming platform. That would definitely help Linux grow some market share if we can get some more Linux gaming going on, either both on PC and on other devices as well. But that's another discussion entirely. But yeah, Windows 7 is the kind of thing that you'd have to hear from your geek friends or people at work or something like that. I haven't really seen much in terms of Windows 7. It's not like when I was in college and I was hearing Get XP from all these people, including people that weren't CIS folks, or even the new IT major that started up while I was there that I was unfortunately ineligible for because I was too far into the business core by the time my college started the bachelor's in IT program. So CIS business guy I was. Yeah. So yeah, this whole thing with Windows and stuff. I haven't seen the same buzz from 7 as with XP. And of course, 8 is it's turning into Vista all over again. Microsoft can probably salvage it, though, if they actually bring back the traditional computing support. Or if they really want to have a little fun, make Windows 8 like Windows Classic. Put a Windows Classic mode in Windows 8 and have that look like XP. That'll get folks to switch over. Hey, speaking of Windows 8 and Windows XP, there actually is a video on YouTube of somebody taking an old computer and putting two old computers. One of them has Windows XP. I think they have the same specs and everything. One of them runs Windows XP. The other runs Windows 8. The Windows 8 machine runs better than Windows XP. Here's the problem. I had to dig to find that stuff. Where was I going to hear about that outside of poking around on the internet on my own? And this is the thing. It's not only an issue with PR and marketing. It's just that people aren't excited about PC operating systems like they used to be. And it's kind of understandable because with Windows XP Service Pack 3 in particular, Microsoft got it right. Microsoft finally made a version of Windows that could stand the test of time and last the ages and stuff. You see, one of the arguments I'm hearing from the folks who are like, oh, bury Windows XP, and stuff like that. One of the arguments I'm hearing is that if a previous version of Windows was like XP, back when XP came out, it would have been like using Windows 2 all the way to. But here's the thing. I mean, computers evolved quite a bit, and we now have hit some limits in terms of what we can do on a 1080p system and stuff like that. I mean, Windows 1, Windows 2, they were kind of like hard disk menus that were out back in those days, kind of like a forerunner to the GUI OSs. And then, of course, the Macintosh came out, and then Windows, of course, tried to bring some of that to the PC side of things. Then you had Windows 3.1. which was classic Windows as far as I'm concerned. When I think Windows in classic computing terms, I'm thinking Windows 3.1. I'm thinking the doo-doo-doo noise when you first started up, the iconic Windows 3.1 window appearance, as well as file manager, program manager, having to go to DOS for stuff. That's classic Windows as far as I'm concerned. However, it had its limitations, of course. It still operated like a shell on top of DOS. So there were some programs that you would have to go to DOS for. You'd have to go to DOS to game and stuff like that. There'd be installations for both DOS and Windows on any programs you installed. It was just kind of a sloppy mess. Windows 9, so limits there. Then it was Windows 95, which helped out with the GUI quite a bit, but still, limited on 2 gig hard drives max and stuff like that. Then Windows 98, larger hard drives, things like that, but unfortunately it crashed under normal use. Froze, crashed, the whole 9 yards. When you talk about computers not working right with a GUI OS, you're probably thinking around Windows 98 or so. I have lots of horrible memories of using Windows 98 second edition in high school. And here's the thing, I was known as a computer nerd in high school. I was in an electronics shop, but I was the computer guy. And so here I was, like, poking around with Windows 98, and Windows 98 did its thing and crashed, froze, blue screen and stuff under normal use. And everybody was like, "Stop crashing the computer, Jay. You keep mucking around with the computer, of course it's going to crash." And all these stupid excuses for Windows 98 being inherently unstable. Then Windows Millennium Edition tried to give it a new coat of paint. What a disaster that was. When I went off to college, Windows 2000 was first hitting the market. And this is the interesting part of all this XP discussions, because I would still very much consider Windows 2000 to be a viable operating system today as well. And for a while it was. It first went, of course, it was an upgrade from NT4 for the business side of things, so business OS. But when folks found out that like myself found out there was a version of Windows out there that wouldn't crash under normal use, that might actually run somewhat stable, we risked incompatibilities to get Windows 2000. Windows 2000 was my go-to OS in college. Many computers on my college campus were still using Windows 2000 when I graduated, and I upgraded to XP about halfway through. But the big reason why I went to XP was because of lack of official multimedia support. I wanted to be able to play my PC games, and XP was turning out to be a far superior platform for gaming than Windows 2000. Windows 2000 still had the Windows NT businessy type thing to it, where people thought, oh, business OS, no real multimedia or anything. It's basically Windows NT version 5. And so to get the official multimedia support and not get left in the cold with certain games supporting XP or 98 or XP or something, not Windows 2000, which eventually happened, but not when I was in college, I switched over to XP about halfway through. But with XP, and this is the big thing, Microsoft built something that stood the test of time, and then some. Windows XP got everybody over onto an NT-based Windows that wouldn't crash under normal use. It was just amazing. I mean, and then, of course, there was the issues with the worms and the security and stuff, but with the Trustworthy Computing Initiative, and especially Service Packs 2 and 3, Microsoft got Windows right. After all those years of trying to bring this technology over to IBM-compatible PCs, as they were called back in the day, with DOS and DOS-based Windowses and things like that, Win 3.1, Win 95, Win 98, stuff like that, Microsoft finally made a really nice OS that was more than usable, as evidenced today. I think today what's going on with XP is largely a result of failures on Microsoft's part. If I were them, what I would have done is I would have kept the support for XP going and then went after the XP crowd with the next release of Windows 8, especially by plugging the living daylights out of it running better on older hardware. There is, however, a valid point to make about how old that older hardware is. So I poked around on Crucial.com looking for RAM upgrades for some of my older systems, and just for fun, I decided to pretend the Silver Bullet that I built back in college was still working with its Athlon XP2000 and Epix 8K3A Plus motherboard, and I found out that my original motherboard that I used for the first computer I built in college, my original motherboard only supported 3 gigs. I think it only had 3 things of RAM. It maxed out at 3 gigs of RAM. So that would have been, I would have had a hard time getting Windows 7 to run decently on that. Windows 7 or Windows 8, typically the magic number for RAM is 4 gigs. Is 4 gigs if you want decent performance. That's really it. I've tried using some of these more recent Windows systems on 2 gig XP machines, and it's been a miserable experience. Of course, it is 1 gig if you use the 32-bit version, but it definitely goes 64-bit at this point. The biggest things hardware-wise that would keep somebody from upgrading at this point would be a 32-bit only processor and no support for 4 gigs of RAM. Here's something to consider. My machine from 2005 with the Athlon 64, the motherboard for that, an Asus A8N Sly Premium, maxes, actually no, I think it supports 4 gigs. Let me, I still got Crucial open here. Let me go look this up here. Let's see, manufacturer, Asus. That's what I'm going to go back to for motherboards after I get done with this Gigabyte stuff. My next motherboard will most likely be an Asus. I've had very good luck with their stuff. A8N, where is that? Let's look that up. A8N Sly Premium. What's the max RAM on that thing? According to Crucial's thing here. Yeah, maximum memory, 4 gigs. So, a machine that's nearly 10 years old, I could probably run Windows 7 or 8 pretty decently on by maxing the RAM on the motherboard. Anything older, though, of course, anything older would be a machine from before 2004 at this point. So, roughly 10 years old or so. Yeah, you gotta really wonder if you're still using a 10-year-old computer for something. Yeah, good. Have fun with Linux if you're gonna do this. Use like Puppy Linux or something for a 10-year-old machine, but it's not like you need to have you have to upgrade to something really awesome in order to use a newer version of Windows. I mean, I just looked up my specs for a 2005 system, and it would run. So I might even do an experiment before I put Linux on my 2005 machine, when I put it back together and when I go to set it up. I'm going to try installing my copy of Windows 7 without activating Windows. Put some basic drivers on it and see how pokey it is. See how it runs. So, and then just take it off afterwards. So, yeah, I mean, this whole thing with Luddites and stuff, you have to be running a decade-plus old computer running Windows XP in order to not be able to upgrade to one of these newer things. And Microsoft is getting the message. Microsoft is kind of getting the message when it comes to hardware and not bloating the heck out of Windows to always require awesome hardware. Because if there's anything that the Windows XP situation and it still having diehard followers can teach us, it's that you can't use software to force people to buy new hardware. Second most popular operating system in the world is an OS that came out in 2001. By the way, Windows 7's getting some years on it too. The primary support for Windows, this OS came out in 2009-ish. Let me double check that. Windows 7 was released in 2009, so 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's already got 5 years on it. Let me just double check that. Windows 7. Yeah, I really don't pay attention to this kind of trivia stuff like I should. Windows 7 release date. Windows 7 came out when? Let's go. See. October of 2009. Yeah, late 2009. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Later this year, it's going to be 5 years old already. So, yeah. I think what we have here overall really is just a failure of Microsoft to really get the pulse on just what their consumers are doing. And yeah, look, the consumer has spoken here. The second most popular OS in the world is from 2001, but the most popular OS is already past the half-decade mark, or heading towards the half-decade mark later this year. So, yeah, Microsoft, the people have spoken. Near monopoly or not, the focus of the leadership of the Windows division, or whichever division of Microsoft does Windows, the focus of the folks in charge of Windows development, as well as the focus of the folks that market Windows, needs to be that even if you have a high percentage of market share for computers around the world, you can't ignore your customers. This whole situation and all the nonsense that it's going to have, as well as, by the way, governments and companies paying money to get even more support past the end of life date, Yeah, not too thrilled about that. Either public or private sector, it's a total disaster IT-wise to have all those ATMs still running some version of XP, and of course government computers running XP. There's actually a picture going around of President Obama throwing a football in the White House with XP on a computer screen. So it's been making the rounds, but yeah, it's plain as day here. What's going on here is a failure of a company to properly service their customers. It's not anything tech related. It's not anything people related with, oh, those Luddites. Because at the same time, too, you think about older hardware. Suppose you had like a 10-plus-year-old computer with lousy specs, can't run Windows 7, can't run, etc. There's distributions of Linux that we can put on those things that would do the basics. So if someone wanted to poke around a little on the internet and do some like word processing or something like that, an old computer, if it saves the computer from being e-waste in some landfill or some or having to get chopped up in a recycle center somewhere, I mean, people throw stuff out for the dumbest of reasons these days. Artificial obsolescence, like Microsoft just going, oh, end of support. Yeah. Don't use our OS anymore because you're going to get hacked. Like that kind of stuff. And that's really the issue here. Windows XP should, people talk about, Microsoft should kill Windows XP. There's only one way they're ever going to kill Windows XP, because I'm sure people are going to keep using XP past the support date, no matter what happens at this point. And the way to kill Windows XP is to razzle-dazzle people with something better and give them a reason to get rid of the old software. And that is something that Microsoft has come up very, very short with how they handle Windows releases these days. Here's the mandate to Microsoft. Both of their most popular OSs, as well as the most popular OSs on all computers everywhere, have at least a couple of years on them. Microsoft, take a hint. Before we say the same stuff again and again, and also before we call it a discussion here, there is one more thing I want to discuss regarding this whole Windows XP fiasco. And that the last argument that I want to deal with from some of the geeks who've dared to try and argue with me about this, even though their arguments are total rubbish, is the argument that, well, Windows XP lasted over a decade when many OSs out there are lucky to get 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years? Like what? A Linux distro or something like that? Or a version of Linux distro or something like that? When you say the word OS, and you talk about OSs only lasting 2 to 3 years, define your terms, because Ubuntu's been around for years and years and years too. What changes are the version numbers. The Mac OS has been around for years and years and years. What changes is version numbers and stuff like that. Windows OS is kind of are a little bit different than that. It's service packs and major releases with them. If you followed Windows XP, for example, there were times when support for Windows XP Service Pack 2 would end before Service Pack 3, etc., etc., etc. There'd be times when programs would require specific service packs of Windows in order to work. So it kind of muddies the numbers a bit. Sure, there are other OSs out there that just use version numbers, like Ubuntu this or that, or Mac OS this or that, or even Mac OS 10 and some cat name like Snow Leopard. But in terms of Windows, it's not so much that Windows XP lasted a very long time. I mean, we're talking like Service Pack 3 here. So, and there was a bit of a difference between Windows XP Vanilla, Service Pack 1, especially Service Pack 2, and definitely Service Pack 3, as Windows XP evolved from Windows XP Confessional, as some satirically called it, to the OS that has stood the test of time that it is today. So, you can't really... Can we just quit with the stupid arguments? Windows XP has been a rip-roaring success. Windows 7 is probably going to be the next OS that goes through these phases, and Microsoft needs to take a hint, because I'm looking at this chart. Windows 8, 6.4%, 6.41, excuse me, 8.1, 4.89. How much bigger could this... First, it is kind of biased. We're talking Windows 8 here, so we should just put the Windows 8s together into one big slice, but that still brings it to 10%. That does bring it to 10%-ish, though, and makes it the third most popular OS in the world. But what really needs to happen is Microsoft needs to have the Windows 8 slice of this pie eat up the XP slice of this pie, and then eventually the Windows 7 slice of the pie. And the way they can do that is by giving people reasons to upgrade. Besides the points from the people arguing with me about Windows XP's end-of-life date, There's also one very important point that I've read in the articles that I've read on this whole XP thing that I'd like to bring up before we close this discussion out and send this whole Windows XP thing into the history books. The whole thing with upgrades. Upgrade prices for Windows need to change. With all kinds of other programs out there, upgrading, if you're within one release of the latest version and you've been faithfully upgrading, so to speak, whenever major releases come out, you can sometimes get up to a half-off discount for the newest version of a program. Let's peruse some Microsoft update prices and see upgrade prices, if we can even find any at this point, and see just how this deviates from the prices for a full retail copy of the operating systems. Let's look at Windows 7 and 8 on Newegg. What are those OSs going for these days? Newegg prices for the current hotshot versions of Windows. I've got them sorted by lowest price for various types. So Windows 8.1, 64-bit, $100. That's an OEM thing, too, so you'd have to get it with like a motherboard or something like that. $100. If I want to upgrade to Windows 8.1 Pro from regular Windows 8.1, $100. Windows 7 Home Premium, probably the bare minimum. This is the 32-bit version, by the way. Home Premium, this is the bare minimum OS if you want to upgrade to a newer version of Windows. $100. Windows 8.1, 32-bit for older systems that wouldn't have the kind of RAM, like 4 gigs of RAM or something like that. $100. Windows 7 Home Premium, 64-bit, $100. Windows 7 Home Premium, $100 with Service Pack 1 with OEM with no slim envelope, $100. Windows 8.1 full version, $120. This is the retail box, by the way. $120. 8.1 professional, 64-bit OEM, $140. Notice something here. Oh yeah, Windows 7 professional, OEM, $140. Windows 7 professional again, 64-bit without the slim envelope, $140. There is no difference. Where is there any upgrade price or anything that goes below $100? Sorry, but 3-digit software prices for Granny's old XP machine is just not going to work here. You'd have to slash that down like by at least a third or even half. I just don't get why there has to be like this $100 price floor on Windows, no matter what version you get. I also think that, I believe if I remember right, XP to 7, same issue. XP would be around the same price here. Let's get the resellers here. Let's go to Microsoft's site and see if there's anything resembling an upgrade discount for people who want to dump XP. Microsoft.com. Okay, products, please. Windows. All Windows product. Oh, wait, no, there was right there. Buy Windows 8.1. Is there anything at all resembling? Is there anything that would entice a Windows XP person to skip all those versions of Windows? And remember, keep this in mind with that stuff. Nope. Windows 8.1, 120. Windows 8.1 Pro, 200. Yowza. If you're a student, your student discount is $70. So go to school just to get cheap Windows. Let's see. Is there any upgrade anywhere? I'm looking at their website right now. Already went over Windows 8. You can go to Windows 8.1 for free. So, which is why I want to put those slices together on the charts. Where's the upgrade? Oh, Windows 8. Current Vista and XP users. Doo-dah. I just clicked the link for current Vista and XP users. It took me to retail packaging for $120 for Windows 8. Windows 7 only better. Up and running, we're here for you. System requirements, ratings and reviews, nothing. Where's what? Windows 8 upgrade is for Windows Vista or XP users. Upon installation, you can install the free 8.1 update through the Windows Store. Buy and download now for $120. $120. So there's a de facto price floor on Newegg around the $100 mark, and it gets worse if you try to go directly to Microsoft. And we wonder why the second most popular operating system in the world is from 2001, and the most popular operating system in the world is going towards the half-decade mark. And Windows 8 even combining 8 and 8.1 together still isn't close to beating out Windows XP. Ladies and gentlemen, I have done this point to death. I've done all these points to death. Microsoft needs to get its act together. They need to put this whole Windows XP fiasco into their employee training manuals on how not to conduct themselves as a company. This is an absolute disaster when it comes to their business serving their customers and getting people a reason. If you're a business and you want to sell products, you have to get out there and you have to get people to want the new exciting thing. You can't have this going on. I hope Microsoft learns their lesson. I hope to never, ever see another Windows XP-like end-of-life fiasco disaster like this ever again. I don't want to see it with Windows 7. I don't want to see it with Windows 8. And if Microsoft knows what's good for them as a business, they shouldn't want to see this again either. I hope somebody is wringing their hair, is just yanking their hair like, oh my goodness, how could this have happened? Unless you're talking Steve Ballmer or someone else who's bald or something like that, but come on! This is one of the biggest technology failures that I have ever seen in all of my years being interested in this stuff, following this stuff, the works. I hope I never, ever see something like this happen again. And it's not just that either. You've got people out there who are now open to all kinds of malware and other sorts of attacks because that people that write that stuff have been licking their chops waiting for Microsoft to exit the support scene when it comes to security issues. So now you've got all these people out there, including a lot of small businesses and ATMs, that could be vulnerable to issues like that. Microsoft. 2 words. Never again. If that's not your motto, it's time to hang it up and exit this market. Thank you for listening, everyone. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by. And 21 guns for Windows XP.